So we've laid out our networking zyBook using the pedagogy of say, show, and ask, but we've added an additional element that covers the do, which is really going to do, in our opinion, of course, an excellent job of preparing you for the certification exam, because the CompTIA exam itself is going to be based upon those components. It's going to test your knowledge. It's going to ask you to demonstrate skills that you've acquired through experience or training or whatever it is that you choose to prepare for the exam. And that's why we've added that do component here. So without getting too much into the weeds, we've got everything broken down using our pedagogy of the say, show, and ask. Just to do a quick demo here, if you will, of our section, you can see that it breaks it down, giving you detailed information about the particular topic. It's going to demonstrate key components of that topic using some form of an animation. And then in a very short format, it's going to ask you questions about that content that you just reviewed. Now, these are all great in the moment of, hey, what did I just read? What do I need to recall from that particular section? But in addition to that, and also as a way to prepare you for the exam, we've included these test banks or these practice tests that really do a great job of mimicking what's on the exam itself and how those questions are going to be presented to you come exam time. Now, these test banks are broken down section by section, but you can also collectively build a mock exam that goes through 90 questions in X amount of time, all sorts of different options there for these question banks. And within that, the important thing to remember for the exam itself is not necessarily knowing what the right answer is. Obviously, that's a very important part of taking a knowledge-based exam, but also understanding why a particular option is incorrect. Because students, professionals, whoever they may be preparing for this exam or planning on taking the exam, they're essentially going to run into three different types of questions. There's going to be questions that they no doubt know the answer and why that answer is correct. There's going to be questions where they're 50-50 on and they don't know, it could be option 2 or it could be option 3. And then there's going to be that third type where they have no idea. It's almost like they've never even seen the material the question is being asked about. And that's the way that we built these test banks. And that's the way that we've built the ask portion within a particular section. Because if you were to go into a section here, let's just pick network types. You can see that as we go through the questions themselves, it's going to tell a reader why that option is incorrect, which in my opinion and in my experience of teaching this content for well over a decade, understanding why an option is incorrect is just as important as understanding why an option is the correct option. Because as I mentioned, come exam time, there's going to be those two categories of questions where a test taker is 50-50 on, and then there's going to be those questions that they have no idea what the correct option is. So the more that they are able to eliminate those incorrect options, if they're presented 4 options, if they can eliminate 1 or 2, they have a much better likelihood of getting the correct answer, as if instead of not knowing any of the correct options. So that's something that we baked into our ask portion, not just here within the section, but also within those test banks that we've looked at. The other thing to throw into the mix is, of course, the do portion. So come exam time, there are going to be a handful of scenario-based questions and also simulation questions. And we've built labs that are going to handle that do portion. These labs are going to take things that were talked about in a particular section, be it building a topology, configuring a router, securing a wireless access point, and walk through students, readers in general, just a real world scenario of, hey, we've got this particular topology down here. We need to add a node to it. We need to add a switch. We need to restart these devices. And we also need to access the console to configure these components. And one of the things that they'll take away from here, not just for the exam itself, but also gaining some real world experience. These are tasks that network technician, help desk technician are also going to be tasked with in a real world scenario. So it's a 2 birds, 1 stone situation for sure. They're going to prepare themselves for the exam, especially those simulation and scenario-based questions. and they're also gaining some real world experience using a lot of the tools that professionals out there are using now.